Hey there and welcome back. This is Felix from Goldammer Vintage Watches. Today we want to introduce you to 3 affordable vintage watches in the luxury segment, which are the perfect choice to dip your first finger into the vintage watch soup. These 3 watches are pieces I personally like a lot and I just want to share with you why. I explain 4 key points for each piece: stats, value, history and design. So let's start with a watch that is, in my opinion, one of the few vintage watches that have to offer a lot for little money: the Longines Conquest. Let's begin with a brief historical look to get a feel for the roots of this piece. When we think of watches that were made for expeditions in the mid-20th century, the first thing that comes probably to mind, of course, is the Rolex Explorer and the conquest of the Everest in 1953. Unbeknownst to us, Longines also supported some expeditions to the North and South Pole with specifically designed wristwatches even before the Everest event in the 1940s. These watches were based on Longines sports watches of the 1940s, which themselves were based on military models they had produced during the World War II. Based on these watches, Longines launched the Conquest model line in 1954 to make it accessible to the mass market. It retains the screw-down case back and water-resistant case, but updates the dial, lux, automatic movement, materials and overall aesthetics. The watch's roots are evident. For example, the size of the crown, which is significantly larger than that of competitors. For expeditions, Longines need to ensure that the watch could be operated while wearing gloves. It was also the first model series from Longines to have its name on the dial. All previous models did not. So let's jump over to the stats of this gem. Our today's model is a reference 9000/5, was born in 1955 and comes in a 3-piece stainless steel body with a screw-down case back. The case is a study in simple but robust understatement. Similar to many Omega Seamasters of the era, the case measures 35 mm without crown, 40 mm from lug to lug and 80 mm inside the lugs. Under the hood beats the Longines automatic caliber 19 AS with 18,000 beats per hour and 39 hours of power reserve. So what we can say about the design? In my opinion, the design of the Longines Conquest is just breathtaking. It features clean lines, simple dials and fine materials. You can find Longines Conquests in steel, gold capped or even 18K gold with many different dial options like this fantastic black enamel center. Check out this stunning reference 9021/11 with a faced dial ring between the baton and minute track, plus a pipe hand dial. It's also interesting to see that the Conquest was a direct competitor to Omega's Constellation and showed similarities in terms of case design, especially if we turn the watch around and have a look at the medallion of the case back. The Conquest model saw countless different dial and case designs over the decades as the line continued into the 1970s. Last but not least, let's check the value of these timepieces. The best thing here is you can get these watches at a fraction of an Explorer, but still a no less exciting story. The Longines Conquest is a watch that has increased in value over the years. This is due to its high quality and reliability. You can find the first generation Conquests with patience for anywhere from $500 up to $1,000 for a steel or gold plate version, depending on condition. Solid gold case versions with solid gold bracelets can be yours for anything around $7,000. So if you're looking for a do-everything watch in the spirit of the Explorers, which is ready to go on any sort of adventure with you, the Longines Conquest Automatic may just be the ticket. If it gets serviced every 3 to 4 years, it will be a loyal companion for many decades. The second watch I would like to present you today is the brainchild of one of the most famous watch designers of the 20th century, the Polerouter. In this case, with a black dial by Universal Genève. As the first work of Gérald Genta, the Polerouter has a huge place in the hearts of the collector community. And it remains until nowadays to one of his most desired and still affordable designs. These charming dress watches offer classic and contemporary designs at relatively moderate prices. Even if the Polerouter doesn't look like a typical pilot watch at first glance, it is still very much connected to aviation. In 1954, the Scandinavian airline SAS offered its passengers a new flight route from Europe across the Arctic Circle to North America. The so-called polar route. Universal Genève did not miss this opportunity and equipped the flight crew and pilots with watches that could withstand the strong magnetic field of this environment. The Polerouter was born and was offered for sale to the general public in the same year. It was a bestseller and was produced by Universal Genève until 1969. The version you can see here with the reference 869111/01 was born in 1950s, features a 3-body stainless steel case with screw-down caseback. It measures 35.5 mm without crown, 45 mm from lug to lug and 80 mm between the lugs. Under the hood beats in Universal Genève caliber 215 with 18,000 beats per hour and an impressive power reserve of 57 hours. It was one of the first movements with a micro-rotor. The very first Polerouter from 1954, on the other hand, was driven by a bumper automatic. The classic Polerouter, like our today's piece, feature a simple case with a black dial surrounded by a silver raised ring. In addition to this model, Universal Genève also produced a lot of variations. Over the years, these pieces were available in steel, 14K gold capped or even in 18K solid gold. Up until around 1969, Universal Genève continued producing variations under the Polerouter line, among them the Polerouter Jet, Polerouter Deluxe, Polerouter Compact, Polerouter 3 and the Polerouter Sub. And throughout its run, the Polerouter was positioned as a high-end watch in Universal Genève's catalog. To put things into perspective, in the late 1950s, a steel Polerouter was priced at the same as a Rolex Explorer. So if you're looking for an entry-level piece, the Polerouter Geneva offers an affordable entry into the world of Polerouters and might be your ticket. Price range here for good examples lies between $1,000 and $2,000. From our point of view, a really attractive entry into the investment of vintage watches from the 60s. The range of more rarer models like our today's piece ranks between $2,000 to $5,000, and the trend is rising. You can also find the same reference like our today's piece for less than a half, but always pay attention to the condition and originality. The last perfect entry-level watch I would like to introduce you today is the Omega Constellation C-Shape, another Gérald Genta classic. I believe it is one of the most underrated of all Constellation designs, but for absolutely no reason. The namesake for this pieces comes of course from the new K-shape, reminding one to two C's opposite each other. The very first Constellation launched in 1952, and this making it to one of the oldest Omega's watch collections, older than the Speedmaster by 5 years. The Constellation C-Shape era lasted for 14 years from 1964 to 78 with 7 different main references. And a lot of people don't really have the C-Shape on their radar and mainly know about the pipe hand dial version. And of course that affects demand and therefore the market prices. So today this watch is a must-have in my list for the perfect entry-level watch. With this piece, Omega, along with Gérald Genta, did a 180-degree turn in contrast to the pipe hand models and came up with an entirely new design. The C-Shape was the third version of Omega Constellation's collection and was introduced in 1964. It was to become a design revolution to the collection, while the pipe hand was still in production. In stark contrast to the late Art Deco style of the pipe hand Constellation, the C-Shape featured, as you can clearly see it on our today's piece, a much cleaner dial with a great sunburst pattern, slim baton hands and jet markers. A modern take on the Constellation concept. Our today's reference, 168.045, has everything you want in a dress watch. A stainless steel case, center seconds, a very beautiful silver dial and great baton hour markers with onyx inlay. Well proportioned, simple and classic. This Constellation measures 36 mm without crown, 41 mm from lug to lug, features a screw-down caseback, Omega automatic chronometer caliber 751 with 19,800 beats per hour, 50 hours power reserve and a stunning integrated bracelet. The price for this great vintage piece is between $1,000 and $2,000, depending on condition like our current model in NOS condition, a bit more. 18K gold models with integrated gold bracelets are of course much higher. If anything, This third generation should be seen more as the shy and minimalistic brother of the piping constellations. The subtle markers, hands, and the ultra slim bezel really leave a lot of dial to these pieces while elongating the wrist presence with its case. From a design perspective, it's a remarkably novel and contemporary approach Omega took here.